And now for a short presentation, please welcome the Global Director of Programs at the Travel Foundation, Elke.
Hello from Belgium. It's an honor to be here and to talk about collaboration. And it's not so much that we like to talk about collaboration because we like to co-create. It's because of necessity. And really, yeah, so together we can create. But we think with the challenges that tourism is facing today, and on the next slide, I've just shown a few of them, climate change, but also the challenges on equity, equality, and inclusiveness. These are really challenges that need collective power. And so to stay relevant and profitable, businesses must purpose and position themselves around these big issues and also look for partners to really solve these issues. And I think this awareness is here today. As you will see on the next slide, and I looked at the Deloitte study, the number one drivers of these challenges are today investors and governments. So it's really the big organizations that looking into it. And we also had a look at what a big investment company, also in tourism, which is named BlackRock, is actually doing today about this. And we saw them calling upon CEOs to create stakeholder capitalism. And this really means that if you want to obtain on the long term profit for yourself, they recommend you to deliver also long term value for your stakeholders. And we think that this is especially true for destinations. And about destinations, we often say that it's everyone's business because by design, really, it's a public and private co ownership. And if you look at the next slide, and again, it's just a few examples. If you look at the supply chain, which we all use, if you look at the natural resources that we share to do businesses there, the same for attractions and even human resources is something that we share, whether it is as a customer, whether it is as a staff member, we are all sharing these very valuable resources. And therefore, we think that it's really interesting when you look at creating sustainability from a pre-competitive point of view. When you try to look for pre-competitive collaborations that allow even competing companies, even hotels that are very competitive towards each other, but they also need to develop a solution for a problem that they share. And from none of them can really gain on the short term a competitive advantage, but they all need to find a solution for it on the long term. Um, well, we can think about many examples here, but for instance, just looking at water shortage on an island, it's one of those things that needs to be solved. And why isn't it solved? So according to a study that we've looked into with FT and WTTC, we have seen really four barriers of that actually prevent us from working better together today. One of it is a clash of culture. Just think about the speed in which a public organization is working and a private organization, but also look at the agendas. In a lot of countries, the public sector even has a department for tourism. So how does that work together? Our sector is also very fragmented, and so it's really difficult sometimes for organizations to find the person who they should talk to. And this is super necessary because if we want to have a clear mandate for destination stewardship, where can we find it and who can take upon this responsibility? And we're all looking at each other too often nowadays. And last, it's a lack of knowledge and data. I don't think there's like not enough data, but there's not a common use, or the data is not brought together in a way that we can all benefit from it, both public and private sector. However, we did manage to find two good examples, two ways to collaboration that worked very well. And they are here today, so they will be able to tell you more about this. The first one is based on the next slide, you will see on the Glasgow Declaration. So this declaration really helped us to find this more common language, to find a process and also a way to prioritize our agendas together. And this is where Scotland and the Travel Corporation really find, as a public and private organization, a way to collaborate and to really do actionable things on the field. But I'm sure that Malcolm will tell you much more about this later. Just a second example that I would like to introduce you to is on the next slide, a new way to collaborate with destinations. So if we want to give a mandate to the DMO, and we work together here, for instance, with Algarve in Portugal and Tenerife in Spain, but most of all, we fostered new relationships between the destination and also the private sector, because thanks to EasyJet holidays, we have been able to not only look at the usual suspects here on the left side, the tourism businesses, but to also look at the broader context and about the impact that we have been generating with the tourism industry. So you see there is like water, there's circular economy, and how can we do this? How can we actually look at this broader and wider impact of tourism to make sure that we have a longer term viability of the place where people live in, the place where tourists like to come, but also the place where businesses can develop profitable relationships on the long term. So that's it for me, just introducing two people. Thank you for listening. And I'm sure that Jane and Malcolm will be able to tell you much more into detail about how they actually set up the collaborations themselves. Thank you.